Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Leo Knight, security consultant, former RCMP and Vancouver police officer, and he has a great blog site, Primetime Crime. Leo, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jim.
The issue we want to talk about is cop cams, whether it be a cruiser cam, a body cam, a badge cam, a cap cam, or a drone. Now that's part of modern policing now, isn't it?
Well, it's being discussed a lot more. There's not many departments who have started using them wholesale, but most departments are conducting some test trials with them. Some have gone towards equipping some members, a percentage of the department, with them, but I don't know of any yet who have gone to 100% penetration.
Why is there resistance to installing these cameras?
Well, it's not resistance, and I'm not talking dash cams. Most departments use dash cams. I'm talking about body cams. And it's not so much resistance, it's a question of developing policy. For example, should the unit be always on so that you are recording an officer's conversation with another officer while they're having coffee and writing a report from the previous call? Is that appropriate, or should the officer be able to turn it on or off? If that's the situation, when you get into a situation where, like a police chase or something like that, where things are happening really fast, what if the officer forgets and there is no body cam video footage? There's also the issue of storage. Video storage, you probably know, takes up large file sizes on servers. And how is that going to be dealt with? How long should you keep the storage? There's a lot of policy questions that need to be discussed and determined before decisions can be made to use them.
I know there's the privacy issue, although pilots will say everything that we do is recorded digitally. And if you're in the media, somebody said, how would you like to be in front of a camera? I said, we have 24-hour security cameras in the radio station, and everything I say officially at work is recorded. So the idea of recording people at work isn't new.
Well, no, that's true. But if you use your example of pilots, for example, a cockpit video recorder or audio recorder, the voice recorder, only keeps 2 hours of data on a loop. The idea is meant to keep what's gone on prior to a crash, so they know what's going on. The pilot in a normal flight has no chance of his conversation with the co-pilot ever becoming listened to by anybody.
Right, and then of course there's the question of who can access these records.
That is an issue too. I mean, there's a number of issues. I think it's a good idea, but I think that these policy and procedural issues have to get worked out before it's a go. And then there's always also the issue of funding. These units that I've seen are somewhere in the vicinity of $5,000 a piece. So if you have a department of, say like Toronto, where you've got 8,000 members, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know Charlotte, North Carolina decided to equip all their officers with cameras because they were simply being sued for $12 million a year for accusations officers had been in the wrong. And they said it was so successful at reducing their legal costs the first year when they did half of their cars. They equipped all of them, and now they're spending hundreds of thousands instead of millions. So somebody said, $12 million can buy a lot of cop cams.
It certainly can. There's no question about that. But again, we have to separate the issue of dash cams and body cams. Dash cams provide view looking forward from the police car. It's especially useful in officer violator contact. Body cams are on the lapel of the police officer and essentially provide a viewpoint of about not quite 180 degrees, call it about 150 degrees in front of the officer of what's going on immediately in front of him.
And you also have a recording of what happened in audio.
Yes.
Do you think the city of San Diego just equipped all of their officers with body cams, I think a year ago, or half their officers, and they said their incidents of violence involving civilians and officers dropped in half, and that their complaint volume about officer misconduct dropped in half. Does it really show that when everybody knows something's on video, both sides are more polite?
Well, that's certainly the case. In every case that I've looked at where there's been video after a complaint was made by a citizen who felt unjustly dealt with, the complaint was always withdrawn when shown the actual video evidence.
And I know, too, in impaired driving cases, there's nothing like a video of the accused kicking over empty beer cans when he gets out of the car.
Yeah, and there's lots worse than that. I've seen cases where you open the door and people literally fall out of the car.
We'll have more with Leo Knight right after this.
More and more people are looking to the internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking to Leo Knight, security expert, former RCMP and Vancouver police officer. His blog, Prime Time Crime. Leo, do you see a point where they might have to legislate the use of body cams and so on, just to make sure that, for the record, the actions of a sworn police officer are on the public record?
I don't know that they'll actually have to go down that path. Most police departments that I've seen speaking on the subject they're either in trials or preparing for trials or have already deployed some units and are looking for funding to deploy more, and they all seem to be getting on board. There's no question when you see, as we have in the last decade, so many cases of citizen journalism using their iPhone to record a snippet of an event, but typically in these instances it only gives you a little bit. It doesn't give you the full context of the event. Police recognize that they're going to be videoed on almost every citizen interaction by somebody nearby with an iPhone or a smartphone. So in order to defend themselves against the context issue, they're recognizing that they're going to have to provide their own video, and the easiest way to do that is body cams. The question then becomes, as I said, what are the policies we're going to have regarding that, and where do we get the funding?
The inventor of the cop cam that's used in cars told me, Jim, it's been great as a training tool. Maybe that's something we should talk about. He said, when you come back from patrol, your sergeant can review what you did and could say, that was a great way, not to use your gun, and that was a great way to use it.
Well, exactly. That, and you'll see a lot of this. There's a website for anybody that wants to go to. It's called police1.com. And they typically post a lot of dash cam video. And it's very interesting when you see officer-involved shootings, typically how fast these things developed, how the attack was made, where the officer was in terms of a defensive position. So as an instructive tool, those types of videos are very, very interesting and certainly a very good learning tool.
And for officers who might be reluctant to wear a body cam, the guy who invented the cop cam again told me, he said whenever there's a complaint against police, the video 98% of the time vindicates the officer, 1% of the time it's a wash, you can't tell whose fault it was, and 1% of the time the complaint was correct, the officer did something wrong.
Yeah, I'd be actually surprised about the 1%, but okay. I'll accept the numbers.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it would be very encouraging to know that. And I think in Toronto, too, once everybody knew their police headquarters, everything was being videotaped, they said incidents involving police officers, prison guards, and inmates, again, fell drastically because, the evidence is right there and it's not going to lie. Yeah.
Well, and the police learned these lessons back in the 90s, Jim, with when they started videotaping and audio taping all suspect interviews. It eliminates the defense of, well, I only talked because they threatened me, and, all of that sort of nonsense that was typically floated up the flagpole, immediately got eliminated with the use of video and audio recording.
Yeah, I notice a lot of cop TV shows still don't have that video recording running, whereas that is standard procedure, and I'm always amazed at how calm the officers are when they question people when you see the actual video.
Yeah. I can't imagine any police department, any major police department, certainly in North America, that would not video and audio tape all suspect interviews, especially in serious crimes.
And again, I'm just amazed that how much officers in those questionings go out of their way. Do you need anything to eat? Do you need a glass of water? Things like that they don't portray, I think, in dramas.
Yeah, well, that's all part of it too. I mean, interviewing techniques teach you very early on in the training is you have to build a rapport with your suspect or he's not going to talk to you at all. And you build a rapport by, being open, by being engaging through, a touch on the knee, or can I get you something? Here's a cup of coffee, all of that sort of stuff. It's all part of building that rapport to get the suspect talking.
And for people who are in law enforcement, I could see one time you wouldn't want the video camera rolling, though, and that's when you're talking to confidential informants who, if anybody finds out their identity, they could end up dead.
Well, that is a problem. And again, as I said, you have to be cautious in developing your policy as a police department or a policing agency in terms of when the camera should be on and when they should not be on, and who has the ability to turn them on, and how does that all work. And as I said, if you give the officer the ability in your policy to say turn them off when you're having lunch with a colleague, then you also have to give them carve in stone your policy. As soon as you get back in your car, it's turned back on again. Or as soon as you're dispatched to a call, you turn it on from that moment. Or as soon as you initiate with a violator, you immediately turn it on. And I'm not suggesting what the policy should be. That's for each department to work out. But I'm just saying there's a number of those questions that are being debated as we speak.
Leo, anything else off the top of your mind on this topic?
No, other than to say I think it's a good idea, but I want to make sure and stress that I think the appropriate policies and procedural rules, if you will, should be well thought out and not just knee-jerked into existence.
Yes, because I can just imagine the first officer who forgets to turn their camera on after lunch and gets involved in a shooting or something like that.
Cover-up will be deafening.
Thank you, Leo, very much.
You're welcome, Jim. My
guest has been Leo Knight, former RCMP and Vancouver police officer. He's now a security consultant. Check out his blog, primetimecrime.com. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet, or check out our popular YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Comments for the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.